welcome to the first annual Police Wife Conference. I am your host, Rebecca Lynn, and we will spend the next 5 days gaining resources, support, and inspiration for your life as a police wife. Whether you watch these videos alone or with a group of friends, I hope you gain something new to help you navigate this lifestyle. Today's videos are brought to you by Honor the Brave. As a law enforcement family, Honor the Brave is passionate about giving back to current and retired law enforcement, military, firefighters, and all first responders. If you are going to be buying or selling a home, be sure to check out their nationwide Honor the Brave program. They have many Brave benefits as a way to say thank you for your service. Learn more about Honor the Brave at www.honorthebrave.com. Hello, welcome to the first annual Police Wife Conference. Today we have Victoria Newman on, and I am so excited to bring her on and for her to share her expertise with us. Victoria Newman has been married to a California patrolman officer for over 30 years. She's the author of both books, A Chip on My Shoulder and A Marriage in Progress, which are both award-winning books for law enforcement. And she's the founder and president of How to Love Your Cop, which is a nonprofit that gives support emotionally and relationally and spiritually to law enforcement families. She also speaks all over the world about how on-duty life can affect our relationships and how to navigate that in the law enforcement lifestyle. So, Victoria, thank you so much for coming on. It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. I want to learn just a little bit more about you and how you started How to Love Your Cop. Can you tell us how that, kind of came about?
Well, actually, it started in 2005, 2006, when our department had lost 6 officers in a period of 3 months.
Wow.
And at the same time, we were losing our officers to suicide as well. And it was just kind of a defining moment for our department and also for me. I decided I'd always wanted to be a writer, so I thought, I'll just write my story. And that didn't happen until 2010. But at that point, I wrote A Chip on My Shoulder, How to Love Your Cop with Attitude. And it went out and I started getting letters. I started hearing from wives all over the country. And it was very eye-opening. I started hearing stories that just broke my heart. And then from there, I wrote A Marriage in Progress because it takes 2 in a marriage. Mm-hmm. And then 2014 hit, and things got very different in our community and our United States community.
Right.
And by the end of 2016, I was traveling, I was speaking, but we were also going through some things professionally with my husband's job. And then by the end of 2016, I was feeling like I was done, just very alone, isolated. Even though I was speaking, I felt like there were so many things that I wanted to do. I didn't have the money. Writing books is not a real money maker.
No.
And so I thought about either hanging it all up or maybe bringing on more people. And after talking to my husband and a couple of other people that I was doing life with, they were like, "Yeah, let's do this together." And so, How to Love Your Cop was born as a 501c3. A year later, we took about a year to establish it, do it right. And now we're 6 strong with our husbands, and we've got lots of volunteers. Other than that, as well, it's really growing.
That is so wonderful, and it's so great to see that you persevered and you kept going, because definitely our community needs it. And they need as many of us as they can get to hear resources and get that support and have that inspiration from those of us that are living it and that are willing to share that. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about tactical support for law enforcement relationships, and that's one of the topics that you talk about in speaking engagements and things like that. So police officers and spouses both need support for this lifestyle off duty so that we can navigate and connect in our relationships. What are some, maybe the top 3 things that you would recommend for law enforcement couples to make their relationship a priority? It's kind of like to put in their tactical toolbox, if you would.
Well, I think the first thing is communication. We have got to learn how to talk each other's language. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean 10 codes.
Right.
I mean, basically the verbals and the nonverbals that both of us, in this relationship. So what I mean by that is, not just trying to get my point across, but, I'm reminded that our guys on duty, they have these little things called radios where they have to listen, mm-hmm. and then they have to answer and press a button in between. So it is a two-way conversation. And I think a lot of times, depending on the seasons that we're in, we can tend to want to just be a one-sided conversation. We want to get that. We want to tell them everything that we have inside,
right? Or our out at once.
Yes, and then sometimes them too. Right. Sometimes they're not really ready to hear, some of the things that we have to say. And so that, I would say, that is the number one thing in just really surviving, and not only surviving but thriving in our relationships. I think that it's important in our communication to think we, not me. Mm-hmm. And so this is a two-way thing. This is a collective. This is not just me versus you, or, and then add in all these littles, right. that complicate things. Right. So I think the second thing is keeping an educated perspective. And what I mean by that is, there's different seasons that we go through in our marriages. They're looking at a 20 to 30 year career. My husband and I are in his 31st year, and we're looking at retirement at the end of this year. And so, but we were on the streets of LA. He was on the streets of LA, 31 years ago. That was a much different season than now. We didn't have kids then. We have adult children now. So in all of that, there's schedules, there's issues, there's sickness, there's things with the job, different seasons that we go through. And as we go through them, it's really important to keep educated. Things like, tuning in to the Proud Police Wife conference. Yes. And, getting books that really speak to this life, being educated, learning what to do and how to respond to post-traumatic stress disorder, or what to do after a critical incident. Right. These things do happen. And, our life, he's never been in a shooting, right. but he's been shot at. Mm-hmm. And he's also gone through some political things as he's gone up the chain, some right. different things. And so we've had to learn as we've gone. And that's what I would say is living through the seasons, learning as you go, keeping educated, and then also laughter. I said that at the end of 2016, I was incredibly discouraged. Right. We had forgotten to laugh for a while. And it is really important to just keep dancing, yes. to keep laughing, to get away from the heaviness of this career. Sometimes it's very saturating. Yes. And to get away from just life, and remember that, oh my goodness, yes, I do love you. I do remember you. You do have humor. Life can be funny. Life can be joyful, right. even. We don't have to live desensitized all the time. Exactly. And so I would say that's probably number 2. And then number 3, we have to be in community. Yes. We just have to have others. Our guys and us, we have to have our own support systems. Mm-hmm. And then we have to have our support systems together. And right. those may be in law enforcement. I think a lot of our community has been in law enforcement, especially right now. Right. but also non-law enforcement.
Yes.
We've met through people, neighbors. We've met people through our church. We've met, people in different places that we just connect with.
Yeah.
And it's really good to just have that time with others. It's when we isolate. In fact, my husband and I, we always say isolation is the enemy.
Yeah.
And there have been times that we have isolated in different seasons of our lives, and it has not been good.
Right. No, I agree.
And when you isolate, I think we get these ideas in our heads. And unless someone else is speaking into those ideas in our head, they go round and round and round and round. And they may not be completely accurate.
Right.
And so having other people's perspectives, non-cop, those who are a little ahead of us,
right.
those who are actually new behind us coming up,
right.
there are different perspectives that we all can use.
Yes, definitely.
We've been in this for 31 years, but we're learning things from Scott and Liz Brown, who we do life together. They've been through a critical incident, a traumatic day, and the insight that they have, I learn from. My husband learns from.
Right.
And then, as you go through life and you have your experience, it's not everybody's experience.
Right.
So
I agree. And, we do have our police friends because it's great to have that community and talk with people that understand. But at the same time, like you said, our non-cop friends, sometimes it's so refreshing to just not talk about this lifestyle. And they, they're the friends that respect what my husband does, and they understand, they don't ask crazy questions, and they understand what we go through. But it's, some of them are military families. Some of them, the spouse does work shift work or crazy hours, just not in the same capacity. So it's super refreshing to also, I think for me, I love talking to some of the newer wives because even their perspective is fresh and new. And it's great to just hear, their excitement for this lifestyle, because sometimes when you're in a bad season, you lose that. And so it's really nice. And I love how you talked about, educating yourself as a couple, because this is one thing I've talked about a lot. I think it's super important to invest in your marriage, even if it's you're going through a great season where you feel strong and connected. You should invest in your marriage, because you never know when you're going to need those tools. Or you may be open to hearing new things and kind of, just keeping them in the back of your mind, but pulling them out when you really need it. Like you may think, okay, gosh, last year, Victoria said this, and I think that really applies to right now. I'm going to try to use that idea, or things like that. So I think it's really, really smart. That's one of the reasons we're doing the Police Wife Conference is so wives have, people to relate to normalize everything this lifestyle brings, and then to educate, to, help them have that support and those tools. So thank you. Those are all great, great points. So I know so many couples feel like that time is not on their side due to these, crazy schedules sometimes and the shift work. So working on their relationship can feel like a chore. It's even harder sometimes to find that time. Do you have tips on when law enforcement couples should work on these? Or, do you kind of schedule time to do certain things, or do you look for pockets of time? What kind of recommendations would you have to really, educate yourself as a couple or connect as a couple?
I would say both. We need to schedule, and then we also need to look for those little pockets of time.
Right.
So day to day, my husband and I, we get a kiss a day at least.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Unless one of us is out of town.
Right.
So we need to look each other in the eye once a day.
Yes.
We need to, even do like a short, just a small debrief, whatever it is, just to keep in check.
Right.
There's a love you, I love you. type of thing, even if it's on the phone.
Right.
And then also, sometimes, some seasons, we have a meal a day.
Right, right.
Other seasons, that's not the case. During baseball season, it's
right, right.
Sometimes it is, a hot dog in the bleachers watching our son play. I mean,
right.
That's, it's those. So as the seasons come and go, you flex, right? That's one of the main things about being a proud police wife is our flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
My friend says, bend, don't break, right?
Oh, I love that. Yes.
So, and then there's week to week, and again with the seasons, the communication, just making sure that we're checking in. What's on your mind? What's on your agenda? Schedules, kids, got to check in about the money, sex. Yep. Please, once a week, let's go. Right.
Yes,
I mean, it's very important. We're the only ones, it's us two. That's the one thing that the us two do. So important, important. And if you're not having sex at least once a week, I would say there may be some issues, and you got to talk those through.
Exactly.
And then month to month, dates. I know in the seasons where you have kids, it's expensive. Babysitters are very expensive nowadays. But at least 2 dates a month. I mean, you've got to get away and get a breath.
Right.
And so scheduling that out, even if it's putting the kids to bed,
having it
going downstairs.
Date.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Turning those phones off and.
Yes. Turn the phones off, light the fire, put on a chick movie or even, Full Metal Jacket, whatever it is, right? Just to snuggle on the couch and just have that time.
Yes.
And together, because we really need each other. They need us and we need them.
Absolutely.
And then that's also the time to really kind of have those more difficult conversations sometimes, if there's been a trend in something, hey, what's going on with this? I've noticed this, or I feel like, those kinds of things. And then year to year, we've got to get away. We've got to have some time. And there have been seasons of our lives, my husband and I did not even take a vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, I would say that really affected us. So that by the time we did get a vacation, we're in the same room, but we're miles away.
Right.
And didn't even know how to talk, didn't even know how to approach it, that cloud of stress.
Stress, yeah.
Just so thick.
Yes.
And so, plus, we need, like I said, we need to laugh, we need to dance, we need to have lots of sex all of a sudden, or all together.
Right.
I mean, we need to dream.
Yes.
There's things that we want to do, right? It isn't just about day to day. That can be so much drudgery, but just to get that time to just say, what do we want for our family? Where do we want to be in 5 years? Right. And are we on that path? And if we're not, what can we change? What can we do? What can we just kind of incorporate that will get us to for our dreams, for our family, and for us?
Absolutely.
Now, Brent and I are, looking at retirement, and it's different because my career is growing,
right.
Whereas his is, he's still very much busy,
right? But slow down.
Yes.
Right.
And so we're looking at, okay, what does that look like? And what do we want to do now? And what, do I need to make some changes in my career that will help him want to, let us travel a little bit, or does he want to get involved with what I'm doing?
Right.
Let's hope, because that would be amazing. And so it's just those kinds of things where when we get away, Brent took me last summer to Cabo San Lucas. It was a surprise. I didn't know until 2 days before we left. It was our 30th anniversary. So we just, for the first couple of days, we just slept on the beach, by the pool, just slept. And then after that, it was just wonderful, wonderful conversation. Just, to really get that, those thinking times in, the rest, and then let that stress just, come down.
Right.
And then we were able to just talk through some different things, talk about some things that we can do better. So anyway, so that, we got to get that year-to-year getaway.
Yes,
so.
I agree. And that was something that my husband and I, just with having kids and having babies, few years together, it was like, for us, that was one thing that went on the wayside too. And last year we went to Florida, just the two of us. And it was, I remember telling him, I'm like, it feels like we're dating again. Like, which is how it should be. Like, we do dates and stuff like that. But, it was like officially, I feel like 2 days in, it felt like he wasn't even a police officer. You know what I mean? Because they still have those qualities. And even when you're out on a date, that's just who they are. But knowing that we were, far away from home and no one from work could call him. And it was nice to really just kind of like get off the map and just, what do we want? Just the two of us. We didn't even have to, take input from the little ones and, all that kind of stuff. So it's so, so important. And when you were talking about, eating hot dogs in the bleacher stands, it made me think too, that I think one thing that we as couples in law enforcement can struggle with is we see on the outside all of these people that live this 9 to 5. And it's like in society, we think, okay, you should have this 9 to 5, you have dinner together, you maybe put the kids to bed together and things like that. So it's hard sometimes when we see, even like on social media, things that other couples may be doing on holidays or how they're celebrating, or how they're, doing things on the weekends, and we're back here doing something different. And I think it's really important to remember that, we can celebrate and do those things whenever works best for our family. And, if eating hot dogs in the bleacher stands is when you get your quality time, that is okay. And it doesn't matter that, you're not having this nice sit down dinner at 5:30, as a family. That's okay. There's no rule, even though it feels like it's out there in society. So I'm glad you, just kind of mentioned that, because, hot dogs in the bleacher stands can be fun too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's definitely not.
In moderation.
In moderation, right? I mean, we've done met my husband, before he had to go to work, but, it was like in passing while I was picking up the kids, like we may, eat in the car together just so that we can be together, because that's our time. And the kids love it because it's something different, and that's okay. And that, every 6 months or whatever, if that's the way we can get it to work, that's all right. So, well, thank you, Victoria, so much for coming on today. I loved having conversation with you. And I know that your words are definitely going to help all of our wives watching today. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.